When you're a pagan Norse god, you can get away with all sorts of shenanigans. I mean, take Odin, for example. Flying an 8-legged steed across the sky and into the underworld, using ravens as a worldwide intelligence gathering network, and weaving a variety of increasingly ridiculous wide-brim hats. Well, in 2016, the game Odin's Ravens by Osprey Games drew its inspiration from Odin's Raven-based surveillance system. There's not yet a game based on the hats. But regardless, let's take a look at Odin's Ravens to find out whether this game, which has flown under the radar for so many, is worth plucking off of the shelf. Here's the big idea behind Odin's Ravens. Every morning, Odin sends his two feathered friends, Hugin and Munin, the ravens, across the entire world to scout the land and bring back the news of life on Earth. Because efficient. But naturally, after thousands and thousands of years of doing this, the two avian adversaries have become a little competitive. To the point where, today, they race across the landscape in opposite directions to be the first to return to Odin. And while they race, they also enlist the help of the trickster god Loki to manipulate the land and generate obstacles to hinder their opponent. Based on this premise, Odin's Ravens is a 2-player only game in which each player controls one of Odin's famous ravens, each of which starts the game at opposite ends of the world. And the goal is to be the first player to reach the opposite end where their opponents started. Now, to travel, players will play land cards from their hand, which allow them to advance to the next instance of that land type on the path. But players also have several tricks at their disposal in the form of Loki Cards, which provide ways to manipulate the landscape that they're racing across. But if used foolishly, Loki's tricks will hinder that player's own progress just as much as their opponent's. So the trick is knowing where and when to use them. Now, the obvious question about Odin's Ravens is whether this game is just a money grab, attempting to cash in on the current craze for Norse mythology in popular culture. Well, fortunately, even without depending on the crutch of traditional 13th century mythological poetry, Odin's Ravens is a game that stands firmly on its own as a fun, light racing card game. Players are given an appropriate variety of decisions to make, keeping things interesting without the risk of slowing the game down by having too many choices to consider. And the artwork, while fantastic, is where my one criticism of this game lies. The crux of the game is to navigate and manipulate the various lands, but two of the geographic regions, the River Mountain and Desolate Desert, share such a similar design and color scheme that they have often been confused for one another in the games that I've played. Now, in my experience, mixing up these two types of land is the primary point of potential user error when playing the game. But even as insightful and poignant as my gripe is, it's more of a just irritation than problem with the game. And even with that artistic annoyance, Odin's Ravens is still a great game that definitely gets its wings by me. Give it a try, and you may find yourself flocking to this game as well. I hope that this overview of Odin's Ravens has been helpful. And for more board game news, reviews, and commentary, be sure to subscribe to both the Pair of Dice Paradise and Dice Tower YouTube channels. And be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter for more board game conversations as well. And in the meantime, I've been Chaz Marler from Pair of Dice Paradise. Take care.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Take Odin, for example. Flying an 8-legged steed across the sty. Odin has a sty on his eye. Oh my. Odin's Raisins. It's a great game.